Join me in welcoming our panelists. So I'm just going to briefly outline what each of our panelists are going to be speaking about, and then I believe, Sandra, you have a presentation, as well as Andrea. I will ask one question of each panelist, but I really want to open it up to the audience to begin the conversation, hopefully provoked by their presentations. So Sandra is going to talk about her work in terms of a particular series called Strip, which is a series of drawings in which she collaborated with Toronto poet J.D. around the escalating incidences of gun violence amongst Black youth in Toronto. Dr. Nelson is going to talk about the potential of memory as transgressive and defiant, or as traumatic, given the relationship of Blacks in the diaspora to the transatlantic slave trade. Andrea is going to talk, or is going to kind of trace the trajectory of activist histories of the 80s and 90s, which really goes hand in hand with the last panel. And Dr. Vernon's presentation is concerned with Black Canadian literature and questions of historical memory and return. So again, each panelist will talk for between 10 and 15 minutes. I'll ask a question and then open it up. So Sandra, if you'd like to start.
Good morning, everybody. Is this on? When I was asked to be on a panel about memory, I started to think about how memory is represented in the work that I produce. And I thought it was very interesting that the word memory was associated with the idea of, this discussion around African Canadian acceptance in the community, in the arts community on a whole, how we remember each other. Like Donnelly was saying, when I went to school, I always wanted to know who were the other African Canadian artists that I can look to. And I remember Salafi, I remember small things, and then I was able to meet some artists in the community, but on a scale of going into a library or studying or having them presented to you in classes, there wasn't much. So anyway, I didn't really expect to say that, but Donnelly kind of sparked that. So what I decided to do today was to pick a few pieces of some of the work that I've produced in the past, like a one piece from just some series. And then lastly, I'll talk about the series called Strip. So this first image is from a series called Cool. I'm going to be reading some of my words because I just want to be clear and considering time. After reading Flash of the Spirit, African and Afro-American Art and Philosophy, I became fascinated with the concept of cool, the state of being transformed by African-American culture into a fashionable aesthetic has its roots in Yoruba and Igbo civilizations of West Africa. There it is called itutu and refers to a gentleness of character, the ability to diffuse fights and disputes. I completed this series of charcoal and Conte portraits depicting cool demeanors, representing a tendency to wear invisible masks as a form of silent rebellion and protection. These drawings incorporate the stillness and strength experienced in West African masks and statuary that also depict the cool aesthetic described by author Robert Farris Thompson, yet are used to play out the range of emotions from tense and serious to pleasure. So all of these images, they range from 22 by 30 inches, and they get a little bit larger. And the people who are posing are family and family friends. This next series, called Cool Pose, was inspired by a book of the same name, Cool Pose, The Dilemmas of Black Manhood in America by Richard Majors and Janet Mancini-Bilson. It examines how Black males have adopted and used cool masculinity, the cool pose, as a way of surviving a restrictive society, incorporating this concept and expanding it to encompass both genders in a in a variety of ages, I created charcoal diptychs portraying first a portrait of calmness, then second a mask revealing a suppressed deep feeling. So I did a series of 11 of these portraits in Winnipeg on a residency with 5 other African Canadian artists. I think it was in 2002. This next series called Stance. It represents my ongoing interest in posing. These charcoal drawings representing new immigrants from the Caribbean depict only the torsos with faces cropped out, focusing on the stance, clothing, and gestures of a specific time period. The stance of these characters and the clothing they wear suggests an influence of a new environment on appearance and attitude. The clothes we wear, our public demeanor, gestures, and speech are all represented as aspects of our cultural presence here. So again, these are in charcoal, and they range from 22 by 30 to 30 by 40 inches.